Alright, Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises to Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, Bahasham, Wakakodash, double honors unto the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and salutations unto the 144,000. Brother Carl here with another lesson to the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. In this lesson here, we're going to dive into Esau. And over all his pride with his armies and all these different things, because we've seen what the world is heading into. And actually, before I read the scripture here, I want to show this video, because actually we did a video on this last night, in the Monday night sit downs, but there's a few points I want to bring out as well.
As I said earlier, I intend to be a partner in securing a better future. We're going to be working, you're going to be working with the United States, and we're going to make sure that the Middle East is going to be a safe and secure place. It's a very important place in the world, means so much. There were so many people who said the Middle East, and this has been going for many, many decades. I've read it many times, that World War III will begin in the Middle East. It's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. There was a time that you would have thought it could have, but it's not going to happen. There won't be World War III, hopefully at all. But it's not going to start in the Middle East. We're not going to have a World War III if we're smart. There'll never be a World War III.
Khan.
Sorry.
Now, this devil says he's not going to have any war in the Middle East, and quote unquote, hopefully, and not any World War III at all. But these things are already written. Alright, let me bring this real quick, because it's already written for it to happen. Right, Revelation 11:14, the second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh. Right, it cometh, but where it say quickly. Right, we already been seeing these signs. We read Matthew how many times, where it spoke about wars and rumors of wars. All these things is the beginning of sorrows. These things, these things gonna happen, right? But this devil feels he's gonna get away. So this is Obadiah 1 and 3. It says, the pride of thine heart hath deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rocks, whose habitation is high, that said in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? And that is it, because they think that they're so high, they think that they get where they are for their own strength, and they think they're gonna continue reaching to their goals off of their own strength, but what does the Lord have to say about that? Proverbs 21:1, it says, the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord, as the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will. Right? And Trump is just one of the few kings that have on the earth here, right? Him being Nero, right? And the Lord is the one that commanded him, and and not just Trump, because Trump is a puppet, but the elites, the 1%. The Lord is the one that, as the scripture says, mustered the host of the battle. The Lord is the one in charge. So everything that happened, is because the Lord allowed it to happen. Let's prove that. This is 2 Thessalonians 2:7. It says, for the mystery of iniquity do it already work. Only he who now let it will let until he be taken out of the way. Right? So the Lord is the one that allowing this to happen. Right? Until the time right, the Lord will take him out of the way. Right now, Nero, which is Trump, he's still in power, he's still doing what he had to do, because the Lord still have plans for him as of right now. Right? Certain things had to happen, certain things had to play off first, right, before the Lord make Russia take them out. You understand? And a lot of people in the world, right, especially Jew, believe that America would not fall. You understand? Because as the scriptures say, in Revelation 18, think it's verse 9 where they say the city queen and never see no sorrows, you know. But also in Revelation it talks about, probably in the same 18, it talks about they never been touched, you know. The city never been invaded, and nothing. They they never been in a war and they lost. To put it simply, you understand? Because these devils, they always come out on top. That's because of their blessing, right? But now, that is why the Lord have in the scripture Egypt against Egypt. Revelation 11 and 8 say this place is called spiritually Sodom and Egypt, right? So that Egypt we're talking about is not the one back then, but now, right? Because Esau is still the sword is still his blessing. So therefore the Lord is using other Edomites to rise up against the other Edomites, which is Gog and Magog, which is Russia, right? But because these people have never been, touched, the pride, the pride that they have, it, it exalted so high to the point where it is, it's just ridiculous, and they feel like nothing or nobody, not even the Most High Himself, could do anything to stop them. And when you read Romans 9 and 17, it tells you why the Lord have their pride, which is so high. Because it's just as the saying goes, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. But the size of the armies and the military power and all these different things are not going to matter, right? Because at the end of the day, prophecy is prophecy, because just as Priest Kahan said yesterday, he's saying there's going to be peace in the Middle East, but how could it have peace when it is all these nations and them arming up, right? These things is not just for show, it's going to be used, right? It's going to be used. So he just trying to make the people get in a state of complacency once again, right? And with the budget being played off, just Monday gone, they dropped the gas by $1. And Jake rejoicing as though, it's the best thing in the world. They start making videos, TikTok videos and things. Hey, me driving all over the place because gas going on by $1. Jake's so stupid. Right? They're so stupid, they're really asleep. So Esau just have you in a state where it is, you think as though things will back to normal. Another thing Priscan said, they just breathing a sigh of relief. When it is he say you're not going to have any war in the Middle East. But hey, the Euphrates water dried up. And that happened a while now. Because why? That was prophetic. The Lord said that was to happen. You understand? So the prophecy is coming to pass. So he could say whatever the hell he want. But you see, Jake don't read. And they choose to put their trust in the system. So by them doing that, they they're gonna end up in a shit steam, right? Because they're gonna believe, well, hey, Trump say, find out one in the Middle East. Whew, yeah, boy. So they could go back to living their life normal. They're not worried about nothing. When it is really and truly, he, as well as all these other nations, still preparing for war. So while it is you going back to party, you going and do all the festivities, and thinking in mind everything gonna be normal. Hey, just now a bomb gonna drop in your ass. And not just one. Not just one. Right? So let me get this precept here too. This is Psalms 33 and verse 16. It says, there is no king saved by the multitude of an host. A mighty man is not delivered by much strength. An horse is a vain thing for safety, neither shall he deliver any by his great strength. And that is it. Because Trump boasting in his army, I was trying to see if I could find back the video, right? But there was a video a while back, I don't think it was specifically Trump saying it, but some dude from America, right, which I believe he was in the army, and he was bragging about all the military assets that they have, the bombs and all these different things, you know. So they basically were just bragging on how much strength they have, because we know America have been on top, with military power for as long as we can remember. That is how they were ruling the world, because they had the strength to back it up. That's why they never been touched. Because any nation that rise up against them, they put tariffs on them, bram, and then if they want to violate more, they take them out. Right? That is why the scriptures say here in Micah 2 and 2. I'll just read the point. Right? It says, and they covered fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage, right? So that when they're taking people lands and whatnot, they're taking it by violence, right? Because I just read a post, that one of the brothers posted in the group, where it is this guy was basically celebrating Columbus Day, and the thing about it is, I don't know if it was a Jake or an Edomite or not, but it could be an Edomite. I don't know, right? But they celebrating Columbus, but he came across here and did what? Take the land from the natives by violence, right? And then throughout history, they lied about it. They lied about it. So that is the nature of these devils, Psalms 58 and 3. Let me read that quick. It says what? The wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies. Right? That is what the devils do. From the time they're born, right? They speak lies. So all throughout history, when you think you know something, you ain't really know nothing. If you really want to know the truth behind everything, the Bible is here, right? But it's just for Jake, you understand? And to turn it down more finer, it's really for the elect. Because 2/3 are not even going to understand this, right? Some of them, they might understand certain parts where you're getting at, but their feelings and emotions going to prevent them from doing that, which really is the Lord, right? Which really is the Lord. Because scripture says man's going is of the Lord. So if the Lord don't want you to understand, you ain't going to understand. But hey, we in the truth, right? Both Akim and Akwat, we are to say to Allah Yahweh every day, for this truth. Because he could have left us for dead, out there walking around like headless chicken, or even end up like those buggers who left or fell out because of their desires, whatever had them attached to the world, whether it be a woman, whether it be a job, whether it be a fantasy, whatever it may be, But Kalalayam, Yahabashmel Shaibashmakakodash, that we still here, and hopefully, Lord willing, we make it through. We know some of us had to become martyrs, but at the end of the day, it has some of us who had to still go through it straight down to the end until the Lord come back with them chariots, and we had to pray that we face, martyrdom as a real soldier, or we face all the trials, tribulations we go through until the Lord come back, right? With faith, because Esau gonna be hunting us down, because it's really the elect they want. We don't know who the elect is, right? We call ourselves the hopeful elect, but Esau gonna come, But the Lord say what? He gonna lift up a standard. So we can't believe that all these things that the Lord say gonna happen, that World War III gonna happen, Esau coming out, this, that, and we're not gonna believe that the Lord not gonna protect us. Of course he will. You understand? Of course he will. So we can't just believe, we can't be like those Christians or even some of the Israelite groups who just believe part of the truth, of things that sound convenient to our ears. But we have to believe everything. Everything. That's how your faith get boosted even more. You understand? Because when you see these things, you understand it. The Lord playing it off, and the more you see it, your faith's supposed to grow more. So you're supposed to know, well, all right, well, if this happened here, and you're seeing this happening here, then hey, everything else going to happen. Because everything we see coming to pass. So it's only a matter of time, till Esau reactivate, or I should say backtrack his speech about not having war in the Middle East, because the Lord said it's going to happen, right? Let's prove that. This is Joel 3 and verse 9. It says, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war, right? Prepare war. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I'm strong. Assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither, cause thy mighty ones to come down. Cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Yahweh Shai. Let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, or Yahweh Shaphat in the Hebrew, Yahweh's judgment, for there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. Right? And where's the valley of Jehoshaphat? In the Middle East. Right? So the Lord said it's going to happen in the Middle East. As I mentioned, the Euphrates River dried up for a reason. That is where they're going to pass. You understand? So we can give a fuck about what Trump's saying. You understand? That is the catch 2/3. But we know, right? We know. And I saw your part too, right? Let me go back into the over there. Because Trump bragging about you're not gonna have no one in the Middle East because he's signing all these peace treaties and whatnot. Hey, because he think that he had the power of his nation is enough to, keep these other nations or subdue these other nations under his foot, But this is over 1:7. It says, all the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in him. Right? Because as you see in verse 8 and verse 9, the Lord is going to destroy the white men out of Edom, which is the Temanites. Right? And this is the thing. He signed those peace treaties thing, and these other nations, and then they will be watching here and laughing. Right? Because they know at the end of the day, they're not going to have no peace. They want war. You understand? As I mentioned earlier, they may build all those missiles and things, not for nothing. They're going to use them. You understand? China want next, Russia want next. But when you read Daniel 2 and 44, who got next? We got next. Through Yahweh Shai. Right? But all these nations doing what they had to do because it's the will of Yahweh Shai. You understand? So all the men who he confederate with, they turned their back on him. Because why? The amount of time Esau betrayed them. That's why the scriptures say the nations have drunken of Babylon Jews basically, and now they're mad. Right? So let's read Psalm 55 and 20 here. It says, he had put forth his hands against such as he had peace with him. He had broken his covenant, right? Because you make deals here, you make deals there, but whenever it is, it reaches the point where it is not benefiting anymore, or you think you can make better, or you can do better, or you're getting more benefits off of betraying them in whatever way you seem fit, they're going to do it, right? Which turned out to be every agreement, because whatever agreement they make, with any country or whatever it is, it's just to assist them to go higher. So they're stepping on anybody to climb the ladder, you know. So now, when the Lord say how that he broken every covenant, that is why in the Obadiah, it's saying all of them confederate against him, They're deceiving him to thinking that, we still on his side, this, that, right? You even get the one with the NATO and the EU turning against them. Right, I'll read that after. This is Psalms 21, 55 and 21. It says, the words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet they were drawn swords. Right, and that is it. They like to talk nice and thing. And yeah, just like he said, no war in the Middle East. Words smooth like butter, but war in the heart. Trump or war. You understand? Trump or war. That's why I show you the video with, the US military aircraft landing in Trinidad here. And they say close to Venezuela too. Because why? It's war. They just so them going to land an aircraft here. They ain't doing that just so. They will cover it up by saying X, Y, and Z, but we know what it is. We know what's going to happen. Yeah, so there's Revelation 17 and 16. It says, and the 10 horns, which is the EU and NATO, which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. Right? For the Most High had put in their hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree, and give their kingdom unto the beast, until the words of the Most High shall be fulfilled. And the woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over kings of the earth. And that is it. So you see, it's talking about America because it speaks about Babylon, right, being the great city. And we know the modern Babylon is America because it also gives you a next hint where it says it reigneth over the kings of the earth, right? Because I mentioned earlier in the video that Nero, which is Trump, it's just one of the few many kings, But we know America is the top country in the world, right? So he reigning over kings, but that's just for right now, So when they say the 10 horns again, the EU and the NATO, they are all going to turn against him. You understand? There was even an article that came out a while back where it is the Lord, not the Lord, where it is Trump that something he did to the EU and NATO. I think he's funding them or something to that effect. I don't want to lie, but you all can research that, And I was like, wow, look at this. This going to just be a little, this is just an insight just to show you how this scripture here, Revelation 17:16, going to come to pass, because he breaking treaties with all his allies, everything, you understand? I feel as though, he could get away, but they just doing what the Lord asks, because again, there's no wisdom in T-Man anymore, so they're making rash decisions, thinking it's smart, when it is the Lord just setting them up for the kill, but hey, this lesson could go longer, but I know watching the time, but to what you're watching your shy still, because it was a very upper lesson, and through the spirit of your watching your shy, I hope it was edifying, so you're watching your shy to water and shalak where I am onto this place.